Um, Before we continue with our video, I'd like to apologize because my previous video cut off for some odd reason. So the explanation for finding time is in a second video, which is this one that I'm currently busy with. So now we're going to be busy with finding time. And the first thing we are going to do is identify what our keywords are and create our checklist. When we create a checklist, we're writing down what information they have given us. So our word problem reads, a train traveled 245 kilometers at an average speed of 70 kilometers per hour. What was the total time taken? Now, they've said to us our distance is 245 kilometers, our speed is 70 kilometers per hour, and we don't know what our time is. So based on our magic triangle here, we've got our distance, we've got our speed. We don't know what our time is, so that means we need to be using our time formula. And that is time is equal to distance divided by speed. Now I decided to write it as a fraction this time so that you can see how it works both ways. In the previous one you would have seen that I've written it long ways. Now I'm using the fraction form so that you are able to identify what it looks like in different forms. Our distance is 245 kilometers and our speed is 70 kilometers per hour. Now once you get to this point here, if you are not sure what exactly is 245 divided by 70, you are going to do your calculation on the side using your division. The bottom number goes on the outside and the top number goes on the inside, which is 245. 70 cannot go into 2, so we put a dot, or you can put a 0. 70 cannot go into 24 either, but it most definitely can go into 245. So you're going to do your check to see exactly how many times it goes in. So you can do your check by adding or by multiplying, whatever works best for you. That is what you're going to do for yourself. So that gives us 0, that gives us 140. We have 0 again, 11, that is 210. We're going to do another check just to see if we can go just a little bit further. And this tells me I cannot go any further, so it only goes in 3 times. So I put my 3 at the top. 3 times 70 gives me 210. And then we subtract 5 minus 0 is 5, 4 minus 1 is 3, and 2 minus 2 is 0. We add a decimal point. We add a decimal point so that we can see exactly, will there be any remainders or is this the end? And we add a 0 as well. The decimal goes up high and the 0 comes down low. Now I have 350 here, so again on my side I need to check how many times can 70 go into 350. So I carry on from where I've stopped last. So I have 280 plus 70, 7 and 8 gives me 15. And look at that, it goes in exactly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I put my 5 at the top. 5 times 70 is 350. That means I have no remainders left. So my answer is 3.5 hours. Now, I want to discuss this decimal number here, 0.5. 0.5 means that we have that it is equal to a half. So because this is equal to a half, it tells me I'm talking about half an hour. So half an hour is 30 minutes. So you can write this answer. So you can say, therefore, your answer is 3.5 hours. Or you could say it is 3 hours and 30 minutes. Both are absolutely correct and they mean exactly the same thing. Okay, so now we're going to focus on word problems. And the most important thing about word problems is being able to identify the information that has been given to you in that particular word problem. So when I started my first video on distance, speed and time, I did start with my very first step to success being identify the key words. And then write down your checklist and put down what you have in your checklist as well. Now let us start with this particular word problem, you will see that I've started off with an explanation, and this just makes it easier here for me to then explain what it is that I need to be explaining about this here, and it gives me a little bit more time with the visual that I've given you here to explain why I've done this. So our word problem here is Tyra started jogging at 17:45. She ended her jog at 18:25. If she jogged at an average speed of 9 kilometers per hour, find the distance she traveled. Now, when we write down this checklist here, so I have distance, speed, and time. They've told me that her speed is 9 kilometers per hour. They want us to find the distance, but they haven't given me a straightforward time as well. They told me what time she started and they've told me what time she's ended. This then indicates to me that I need to find the time traveled. And for me, in order for me to find the time traveled, the easiest way for you to calculate the time is to go in intervals. And how these intervals work is that you can go in 30-minute intervals. That means I will go every 30 minutes. So if I started at 5:30, I'll go from 5:30 to 6 o'clock, then from 6 o'clock to 6:30, then again from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Now what that means is that I started here, or she started here at 17:45. The nearest whole number or the nearest whole hour is 6 o'clock. So I will say, how many minutes will I need to get from 4:45 to 6 o'clock? And it's 15 minutes. Then how much time or how much did it take to get from 6 o'clock to 6 or 18:25? And it took me 25 minutes. Once I have gathered my information in interval form, I can then add it. So I said 5 plus 5 gives me 10. So I put my 0 down, carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 gives me 4. So I have 40 minutes of traveling time. I can then put that down in my sum. The other issue then is that my speed is given to me in hour form, and this is minute form. So my next step to success is convert units. Now, what this means is that at the moment I have minutes. They want an answer in hours. They don't want an answer in hours. They've given me information in hour form. So I need to then make sure that both of this can relate to each other. At the moment, they cannot relate to each other because they're in completely different forms altogether. Now, how we're going to do that is you can either convert from the small unit to the big unit, or you can convert from the big unit to the small unit. And what that means is you can either go from minute to hour or hour to minute. But because they've already indicated here that this is an hour, that means that I should be converting my time to hours. Now, how you are going to convert your time to hours is, I'm going to write it down here, time conversion. So anytime we're moving from minutes to hours, we must divide. When we are moving from hours to minutes, we are going to multiply. So we're not just going to multiply by any number, we are going to multiply or divide by 60. So how this is going to look is, you're going to take your sample size and you are going to put it into one of these two forms here. I want to move from minutes into hours. So that means I'm then going to say 40 divided by 60 will then give me an answer in hour form. So we can then simplify this. 10 is a common factor between both of them. So we can divide by 10 and divide by 10. This gives me 4 over 6. I can further simplify because 2 is also a factor. So I divide by 2 and I divide by 2. If you've gotten to this point here and you're not sure if you should further simplify or not, you can leave it at this point and not go any further. But if you would like to work with smaller numbers, then do take it further if you can identify it. So we have 4 divided by 2 gives us 2 and 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. Now we know that this is also 2 over 3 hours, or 2/3 of an hour. Now we can look for our distance. So our distance formula is distance is equal to speed times time. If you are not sure, what I do suggest that you do is write your magic triangle on the side. So we have our speed is 9 and our time is 2/3 of an hour. Now remember our rules that when we are multiplying a whole number by a fraction, we convert that whole number into a fraction as well by putting it over 1. Now I can multiply. Now, your next step to success is you can either straight multiply or you can cross simplify first. If you are going to cross simplify, you are eventually going to end up with straight multiplying. Anyway, so we have 9 times 2 and 1 times 3. 9 times 2 gives me 18 and 1 times 3 is 6. Oh, look at that. 9 times 2 gives me 18 and 1 times 3 is 3. 18 and your last step is to divide. Simplify by dividing. So you can either say 18 divided by 3 or 3 goes into 18. If you're not sure how to be doing this, then on the side of your page, you will be doing some division. 18 goes into 3 6 times, so our distance is 6 kilometers. Okay, so the second portion of our sum, or question B of our sum word problem then says, if she jogged for another 20 minutes at the same average speed, what would be the total distance she covered? Now, the information we can identify here is that if she jogged for another 20 minutes, so an extra 20 minutes, this word another means extra. So if you would like, on the side of your page, you can have a word bank or a set of vocabulary that tells you what each of these words mean and what they are implying to you, what they're indicating to you. So the word extra means, and the word another means extra, which then means we are eventually going to add. Okay? And they've told us that she's traveled for another 20 minutes at the same average speed. What would be the total distance she covered? Now, the things we can identify here that we have already, and I'm moving over to my whiteboard here, is that the time is 20 minutes. The distance we don't know. And the speed is, if we go back to our previous question, is 9 kilometers per hour because they've said at the same average speed. So our speed is 9 kilometers per hour. Now, based on the calculation that we've done for our time, in our first portion here, we said we converted the minutes into hours. So now we're going to be doing exactly the same process here. And I'm going to put it like this, hour. For us to convert it to hours, we are then going to say 20 divided by 60 because there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. That gives us 20 is the highest common factor here. 20 divided by 20 is 1 and 60 divided by 20 is a third. So now we can put this into our formula. We are looking for distance. So it is distance is equal to speed times time. We have 9 times a third. We're putting 9 over 1 because we have a fraction being multiplied by a whole number. Let's write this a little bit smaller. And then we do straight multiplication. 9 times 1 is 9 and 1 times 3 is 3. 9 divided by 3 gives us 3. In the end, we need to add her total because they said, what total distance did she cover? So total distance is, from our first question, we know that the first portion she traveled 6 kilometers. And for the second portion, we know that she traveled 3 kilometers. So 6 plus 3 gives us 9 kilometers traveled in total. Okay, for this video, we will be stopping here. I will be uploading another video tomorrow based on more complex word problems in distance, speed, and time. And I will be doing perhaps 2 or 3 types of examples where it involves more than one missing piece of information. So that means that you need to be looking for perhaps distance and speed at the same time. So that is what we will be discussing in tomorrow's video. I will also be concluding distance, speed, and time and moving on to circles. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and like our video down below. Thank you.